You're listening to a podcast from The Word.
So here we are. What's new? Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish, what's going on, Mark? What's been happening the last week?
Billie Eilish, well, as far as I can see, she had to apologise yet again. Another person apologising. Oh, my God, I'm sick of it. I'm heartily sick of it. She apologised for mouthing a controversial word when she was 13, and she's 19 now, I think. So 6 years ago, somebody trawling through her, social media back catalogue found a clip of her mouthing a controversial word, and she's had to apologise. And if you don't apologise 100% and look profusely apologetic,
yeah, you've got to lash your back, haven't you?
Yeah, you have. You've got to literally thrash yourself with birch twigs.
I have let
You've got to parade yourself through the streets throwing rotten fruit in your own face. Ringing a bell.
Whoa, thrice whoa.
Thrice whoa.
Because I once did something when I was
sincere.
13. Well, it doesn't look sincere either way, really, does it?
It doesn't.
Because it's so kind of overstated.
There's a PR standing out of shop with a gun.
I mean, it made me think various things. Oh, we were talking about this the other day,
Oh, should I just mention one more thing that her boyfriend has had to apologise? Did you find the story?
What, for being a boyfriend?
Reported boyfriend. So one of the people reporting this isn't even absolutely sure if this is her boyfriend, but her reported boyfriend, Matthew Tyler Vorse, has apologised for some controversial tweets he posted 9 years ago. Dave, this is her boyfriend. This is not it's not the person making a video.
This is not even 6 degrees of separation.
I know. So next you're going to people's sisters and their brothers and their parents and anyone they ever met who might have said, a taxi driver who once came and lived somewhere, who might have said something controversial. Oh, my God.
Here's my question to you. Has Mick Jagger ever apologised?
No, I don't think he has. No, and I can't imagine him ever apologising.
I think that's a damn good precedent, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Because once you start, you never bloody stop, do you really?
The brand of Mick Jagger would be incredibly tarnished by the fact that he had apologised.
I suppose so.
The Stones don't say sorry. Keith Richards saying sorry for doing something. It's very unlikely. Oh, my God.
I'll tell you what it reminded me of. Back in the days of Smash Hits, we used to notice that an infallible index of how well your career was going is would a playground rumor circulate to the effect that you were about to die? Because if that happened, that meant you were really happening. You were hot stuff, So I can remember Boy George is about to die. Annie Lennox is about to die. Simon Le Bon is about to die, whatever. I think people would write to Smash Hits, so they'd ring up or whatever and ask.
I can remember that. I remember somebody ringing up about David Sylvian, weeping girl.
Yeah. And all it was, I think, was playground squabbles about who's your favorite pop group. And the kind of rejoinder that people used to use was, well, he's about to die.
Yeah.
So in those days, it was done person to person in a playground. Nowadays, if you want to, bite back at anybody you don't like, you just go on social media, don't you? And you convince yourself that in taking somebody down, you are simultaneously raising
yourself.
Raising yourself and somebody else. It's not true at all,
No, not remotely.
And the other thing that struck me about this is, do you want your pop stars to be the people who did everything right when they were 13, 14, 15? Do you want them to be the 13, 14-year-olds that won the headmaster's prize for conduct? And, do you really? Do you want them to be the head boy or head girl? I don't think you do you?
No, you don't.
Part of the deal of being a pop star is that they kind of make mistakes. They do all sorts of things that you do, And so the idea that she's having to apologize for something she did when she was 14 years old, which was, as far as I can see, is not anything particularly extreme anyway.
Nothing heinous.
Is just absolutely ridiculous.
But you're so right, because also if you want them to be maverick and controversial and original and idiosyncratic, you would expect them to have been like that all the way along. And if they weren't, then that would look like a kind of, it would appear artificial. They've somehow made an effort to be.
But also, more to the point, grow the fuck up. Because if you want them to be rebellious, they'll do some things that you don't approve of. That's the deal. Otherwise, they're just like you. What's the point of that? You know. So, I think everybody should just. Oh, sorry.
I couldn't agree more. Is it a terrible time to be a pop star?
Well, it's no time at all.
It's
terrible.
An appalling time. Apart
Just
from walking on eggshells,
waiting to be torn down all the time.
Well, yeah, walking on eggshells, not being able to live a particularly colourful life without being criticised. No music press to make you look more fabulous. But the thing that struck me the other day is the album tour cycle that used to be in place has gone now. And that used to mean that you could make your album, then you do your tour, and then you would legitimately disappear for a year, and no one would expect to hear from you. And then you go back to the farm and you drink a lot of beer and you lie around in a hammock and you behave badly or whatever. But now you don't get any time off. And so you've constantly got to fill that by reminding people that you're still around. I would hate that kind of pressure.
So rock stars are obviously doing puzzling things during the pandemic. Damon Albarn's got a mullet. Is that right?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, he has.
He's got a mullet. Is it particularly extreme? I can't say I've seen it.
Not particularly extreme, but it's undeniably a mullet. It's caused a few ripples. And I thought, I was rather amazed. I think the mullet is one of those things I never thought would come back, actually. Although it's vaguely come back in rugby. Am I right?
Oh, it very much come back in rugby.
Yeah.
Rugby forwards, if you want to be in the England front row, you've got to have a mullet nowadays.
Yeah.
It's supposed to make you look like an orc. You know, it's supposed to.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's the whole deal. You know?
Yeah, it'd make it look frightening.
A semi-mythical beast who's going to wreak terrible havoc upon you.
Yeah.
Is the kind of person who has a mullet. So Damon Albarn clearly not like that at all.
What did Magic Alex, our producer, how did he describe the mullet? Was it business at the front, party at the back? Was it something like that? It's really funny.
That's right.
But various things can surely never come back. And I would say the 4-inch stack heel boot, a la Susie Quattro, can it come back? It came back with Lady Gaga, but as a kind of fashion.
It comes back as a joke, doesn't it?
It's a joke, you know. Snoods, the Nick Kershaw snood, I doubt it.
No, yeah, you're probably right.
No, the baggy 3/4 length trouser, as worn by the Tartan Hordes, but on one stage worn by Paul McCartney. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh my God, he did.
Yeah, I can't remember what they're called now. Clam kickers or something. I can't remember what it is. The one-piece zip-up jumpsuit, as worn by Todd Rundgren.
Todd Rundgren, and also Pete Townsend. Also,
yes, he did. He did.
Although that was a boiler suit, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was a boiler suit.
Mick Jagger sported a one-piece jumpsuit during a tour in the mid-70s of the United States, and I think it's fair to say that he didn't. There was no evidence of underwear.
As with Todd Rundgren, I can remember that.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Oh, yeah.
Could you see which way he dressed?
You could. Yeah, you could assess his religion, etc., etc. Dave Hill, the crescent moon fringe, and the Baco foil cape, that can never come back. And nor, I think, could the leopard skin bum flap. Do you remember that when we were in Smash Hits, walking down Carnaby Street in 1980? The number of people who'd come to town just to buy a leopard skin bum flap, pretend to be a punk.
Or send off to the mail order advert.
Oh, yeah.
In Smash Hits.
And
get a mail order bum flap. A leopard skin bum flap, yes. No, there's no immediate sign of that stuff coming back. And and I'm quite relaxed about it. Let me just say. So is it right? There's the 50-year anniversary of the Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore East. Holds up copy of Live at the Fillmore East. I should just point out this juncture.
Which I have too.
That if you're a
the other day,
if you're a Patreon supporter, you would not only be seeing Mark Allen and myself holding up our matching copies of Fillmore East. You would see them as well as hear us talking about them, because you'd be looking at this. And so, if you haven't become a Patreon supporter, go to patreon.com/word in your ear. And we'll just wait while you do that. No, let's get on.
Let's go. Well, can I just say, that is a fantastic album sleeve picture. Don't you think?
Do you know where that was taken?
Yes, I do, actually. I think it was taken in Macon, Georgia. It wasn't taken at the Fillmore East. I think Jim Marshall just staged it against a brick wall. And
it was their rehearsal place in Macon.
Yeah, it was. It was.
And then on the back, it's got the road crew.
The roadies.
Now, how many bands have a picture of the road crew on their album cover? Actually,
Pink Floyd's Ummagumma. That's about it.
Floyd's Ummagumma, which is Naomi Watts' father, Peter Watts.
Yeah, that's right.
And also, have you noticed this?
Oh, that was the guy who was in jail or something. What happened?
No, I think he just couldn't make it to the photo session.
Oh,
so
I thought he was detained by.
I'm not sure. Anyway,
the
he got it included in there on the kind of inset, which is.
But if you look at I know this is ridiculous, but somebody who loves the Allman Brothers as much as me will have looked at the outtakes from that session, and they're all, if you ever seen them, they're all really quite serious. They're all sitting there and they're kind of serious portraits, and they just don't work. And that picture is absolutely electrifying. I think as a kid, I just thought, I really want to join this game.
It's because they're laughing.
Because they're laughing, and there are loads of sleeves, which have got bands on the front. There's loads of Ramones sleeves and Clash and Stones, but they look a bit intimidating actually, and a bit weird and a bit aggressive, and you don't particularly want to join the gang. There's a great XTC sleeve, the Black Sleeve, Black Sea.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of think that'd be fun to be a part of.
Where they're wearing diving outfits, aren't
they? Yeah.
But...
Madness One Step Beyond, that's another. You think that'd be a brilliant band to be in.
Yeah.
But, and Freewheeling Bob Dylan was the other one, not that's a band. I remember looking at that and thinking, that is fantastic.
You know,
in that street with that jacket.
Of taking that picture. Have you ever seen the famous picture of, I think it's Charles and Di's wedding, isn't it? Where Patrick Litchfield, or whoever was the photographer taking the official snaps back at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
He rigged up an additional camera, which was just due to take a picture when everything stopped. And so the famous picture is of them all just laughing.
Oh, because the relief, because the session's over.
It's done.
Oh, that's
fantastic.
That's
the picture. That's the picture that everybody remembers. I'm pretty sure it's at the wedding. It's certainly some major royal occasion. And so, 50 years since the Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore, which is arguably the greatest live rock and roll album. Right? And, we'll fight anybody who says different. I was listening to it only the other day, actually, because I've got this version that was put out for I can't remember which anniversary this was. It must have been 40 years ago that this came out, which is the full, all the concerts, all the sets that they did that week. And it's got the introduction to the final show, which is late on the last night. And by late, I mean something that started at 2:30 in the morning, I think. And it's introduced by Bill Graham. And it's coming to the end of the Fillmores because that's the year he closed them, because Led Zeppelin and so forth were making it impossible for him to continue running it in the same way. And so he introduces them and pretty much says, of all the bands we've had here, and they had everybody, this is the best, And it's a fair point, actually.
Oh, it's an incredible record.
It's an extraordinary record.
Absolutely astonishing record.
So also 50 years ago, this week, is it Joni Mitchell's Blue?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
So Paul Kramer was telling me that it hasn't been in the chart, I think, since 1972 in the UK, which I suppose is not surprising at all. But it's currently sold so many downloads and physical copies in the last week because of the fuss about 50th anniversary that it's going to chart. Which is kind of ridiculous. You still think, well, this record was there to buy 3 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago, 2 years ago or whatever. And people didn't do it, whereas you got the fuss about the anniversary. And
it interested me that it's reached that kind of immortal plateau, hasn't it, Blue? And you could argue that there are other records that I think you prefer Coulton Spark. I mean, there's just other records of hers that are actually better, but it's just done it. And not every band has an equivalent of that. You think they would. There's various records that you can see the piece in the Times, saying it's 50 years since Sgt. Pepper or Abbey Road or Pet Sounds or Dark Side of the Moon or Bridge Over Troubled Water or a Transformer. You know what I mean? Songs in the Key of Life. I don't know what else. Joshua Tree, Nevermind. But there are other records that are kind of cultural milestones. They're not particularly great records, but it's however many years since Nevermind the Bollocks or the first Oasis record or Joy Division. But, there is no equivalent for Bob Marley. There's no equivalent for Steely Dan. Is there? There's no record where you say this is 50 years or 40 years since. It's no Led Zeppelin record, no Who.
I think also the one of the reasons Blue is so celebrated is it's kind of it's become a kind of feminist tract, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Latterly. Never was back in the day at all. And so now it's kind of like a Virago paperback, isn't it? You know?
It is.
And I think it's very often appreciated as such. I can't say I play it very often. Whereas, you know, like you were saying, I prefer Court and Spark in the sense that I play Court and Spark.
Well, Court and Spark's got those up. He's got Free Man in Paris.
It's a brilliant pop record. It's a fantastic pop
Based
record.
on Robbery. I mean, those are amazing. I mean, the thing about Blue is it's got one tone, as indicated by the title, you know, which is rather somber and rather mournful and reflective tone. But it's incredibly attractive. I think it's an amazing record. Absolutely astonishing.
So we saw this thing this morning that Eamon Ford had published on the Forbes website about a band called Salt, S-A-U-L-T, who've put out an album which will disappear after 99 days.
That's a good idea, isn't it?
I think it's a good idea.
Has anyone ever done that before? Because that presumably just accelerates your... I mean, I think you can download it free. Is that right? You can buy the hard copy for 20 quid or whatever. You can download it free. But if you don't get... I mean, it's just a really good way of reminding people that it's there. And it's not going to be there forever. And therefore, if you want to do something about it, you'll have to act now.
Yeah,
it's quite a clever publicity ruse.
Yeah, I don't know if it's more
and
than
make any copies of it that seem quite valuable. It's a great idea.
Well, because it's the obvious rejoinder to the thing that we're often saying on these podcasts, which is there's no hurry to listen to anything. Because it'll be there in 2 years' time. Whereas they're saying, no, it won't be there in 2 years' time. And I suppose it also, is similar to what's going on in certain areas of social media with TikTok and things like this, which things that disappear after they've, had their few minutes in the sun. That part of their appeal is they're not there for ages. They just go away. And you kind
it's
of
the polar opposite of what U2 did, isn't it, really? Remember U2 put out their, what was it called? Songs of Innocence? I can remember suddenly finding it in my phone. They put out, they with Apple,
the worst
idea. They gave a free copy to anybody.
Has anybody?
iTunes. Yeah.
Okay, this is a good question to put to the massive, actually. We've all had a copy of that record. Has anybody ever listened to it? Because I haven't. Have you?
No, but even if I'd wanted to listen to it, which I might actually, I was immediately convinced that I wouldn't listen to it as a kind of adolescent protest to it arriving in the first place. Because it was an invasion. It was like somebody put a leaflet through your door, wasn't it? I didn't ask for this.
The Word Podcast. Prime cuts of popular culture served fresh each week.
So I've bought a new CD player. I'm so excited. Because my old one was just getting a little bit shaky and wasn't queuing up quite as accurately and reliably as it might have done. I probably had it 20 years or something. And so you're thinking, can I get a CD player? But so I did. I went to Richer Sounds. I give them a plug because they were terribly nice. And I didn't get a discount or anything. I'm not saying that because I got a discount. They were just very polite and helpful. Anyway, I bought a new CD player, rigged it up. I've got some new leads for the speakers and so forth. So it sounds a bit better. And so you kind of think to yourself, I've got to start all over again with my CDs. I've got a lot of CDs, Mark. I've probably got more CDs.
When you say start again, so in what order?
But no, just
randomly?
Just kind of randomly. And so what you got to do is allot time to this. It's like everything. It's like a marriage, Mark.
Yeah.
You've got to give it time. And so, you may have had those occasions with your good lady wife where you say, let's go on a date night or whatever. So this is a little bit like this, but you're going on a date night with.
So what do you do? So you pour yourself a glass of red, and
you got to put it in the
put
diary.
On something comfortable.
Slip into something comfortable, possibly. Pour out a nice glass of red wine.
I can see an old Chianti bottle with a candle in it, Dave, as you go through your CDs.
Light a candle, and then I got to play a CD, and I'd probably do it completely randomly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my CDs are all in drawers; they're not on the shelf, so I kind of got to walk down them and look at the spines like I could do with LPs. So I have to think. Okay, I'm going to pull out one of the C drawers or whatever, and I'm going to pull stuff out. And so, you're pulling out a few different kinds of things. You're pulling out things that you think to yourself, oh, I really like that. I love that record. And then you play it and you think, it's kind of all right. You know, because it might be 10 years, it might be 20 years, it might be 30 years since you'd last played it.
Yeah, you loved it because it reminded you of something that was going on at the time.
Well,
or
you
anymore.
just liked it at the time. But at the time, but later on, it doesn't sound quite as good. And then there's loads of stuff that you kind of didn't even really know that you had, or you'd never concentrated on it at all. And so I've got 3 here in front of me.
Oh, go on.
I picked out in the last few days and played them. And in each case, I've thought, that's really good. And the first one is this. It's Black Grape. I didn't even know I had Black Grapes. It's
what a great cover.
It's great when you're straight. Yeah. And it's, I put it on as I was working. There's a certain kind of music that I put on when I'm standing up. And there's a certain kind of music I put on when I'm sitting down. And when I work, I tend to work standing up. And so kind of an up-tempo rhythmic music.
Up-tempo, sustaining, accelerated.
And so how old is that record, Mike? I'll tell you how old it is.
Well, it would have come out in 94? No.
95.
Okay.
So that is 26 Big Top 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not. Yes, 26 Big Top 20 years ago. That's a long time ago. So I like that. And I also pulled out this, which I knew I had, but I hadn't played it for a while, which is James Brown's The Payback.
Right, yeah.
And actually, here's my thing with James Brown. I realize the only problem with James Brown records is James Brown. If James, well, in the sense that what you really want to listen to is the JBs. What you want to listen to is the extraordinary grooves. Just absolutely amazing playing of the JBs and the sound that nobody else at God's earth has been able to make before or since, just it simply disappeared from the earth. And so the only drawback is when James occasionally kind of tries to sing. You think, hey, James, no, just stop that. Go over there, let the band play. And you can just be in the background and it's going to kind of issue distant exhortations to them to kind of keep doing it, all that. That's fine, but just don't try and come up the front. But anyway, I like that. But the biggest surprise I had in the last week, and I pulled out a few CDs by this guy, all of which I thought I liked and played them, and they didn't do it for me, but this one did. This is Robert Plant's Band of Joy.
Oh, right, yes.
Do you know this record?
Yeah.
This came out in 2010, so it's relatively wet behind the ears, this with a band, I think with Patty Griffin was in the band at the time, and he does Richard Thompson's House of Cards and all sorts of things. And I played things like, do you remember he made a record with Jimmy Page called Walking into Clarksdale, I think it was called, came out on Mercury, probably in the 90s, which I sort of remember liking. And then I put it on and thought, no, this just doesn't work anymore. The air, the molecules in the air have changed in the 25 or 30 years since you made this record.
That's brilliantly put.
And it just doesn't work in the same way. Whereas that really works. And I've played it about 4 times in the last few days. So that's what I'm recommending people to do. Have a date night with your record collection, whether you got a new CD player or not. That was just my excuse,
Yeah.
But the point is, you've probably got loads and loads of records that you haven't played in years.
I'll tell you a few. Should I tell you something I found the other day, which I thought were really great? One is this. Do you remember this? Mojo by Tom
I played
Petty.
that the other day.
That's a great record. My God. Again, quite recent, came out in 2010. Yes. And I don't, as if yesterday.
The paint's still fresh.
It is. But it's lovely. It was recorded with the original Heartbreakers, and it's done as kind of live in the studio, and it's kind of a blues record, and it's got little bits of country rock on it, and the sort of smell of wood smoke about the whole thing. There's lovely songs one about Thomas Jefferson, the founding father, and his infidelities with a maid in a woodshed in the back garden.
Well, what's her name? I forgot. It's a famous woman.
Yeah,
he had a child by. I've forgotten the name. Anyway, go on, carry
A
on.
lovely song about pirate coves in Santa Cruz. Some lovely lines in it. One where you talk about old girlfriends. It says, "She was part of my heart. Now she's just a line on my face." It's a sweet record. Another one. I know it's not a classic rock record by any stretch of imagination.
Okay. Is that the one we're on?
No, they're on the second album. We are.
Oh, is that the first one?
This is
right,
the Duckworth Lewis record. I always thought it was so funny. Even the name, the Duckworth Lewis method, obviously a cricketing term, but it was obviously a kind of send-up of the Bachman Turner Overdrive, wasn't it? Or McGuinness Flint or Fleetwood Mac or whatever. And that's just a lovely. It's Neil Hannon, wasn't it?
And Thomas Walsh.
And Thomas Walsh, that's right. And it's just that whole thing about the cricket experience, the kind of pace of a day at the Oval. You know, the songs called, the coin toss, the night watchman, rain stops play, the end of the over. It's just a lovely, lovely record. Sort of, it's kind of music hall and kind of 1920s, isn't it? You know,
and it's also it's a summer record. Isn't
it's a
it?
summer record. It reminds you of ELO. Actually, it's that
Yeah.
wonderful old school songwriting. You know, it's really good. And the last one more I've done up was my old pal's Chicken Shack. Oh, Lord, I
good
love
grief.
Are you not keen, are you?
Well, go on.
Oh,
Did you
no.
play it? Have you played it?
Oh, yeah, it's great.
How does it sound?
It
Which
sounds
one is
really good. I
that?
love it. This is the complete Blue Horizon
Oh,
sessions.
right, okay.
But I love them because I was a major old blues head, and everyone was terribly worthy and terribly kind of forthright, weren't they? Ainsley Dunbar's Retaliation and John Mayall's Blues Breakers, and everyone was terrible. It was all sort of a studenty. And there's something really funny about Chicken Shack. Do you remember the track San Jose, the old Freddie King number?
It's a Freddie King song.
Oh,
tune,
it's
isn't
fantastic. It's recorded live in the studio. You can hear them all shouting at each other. You can hear them all moving around in the studio when they record it. It's just brilliant. And it made me think very fondly of Stan Webb. No oil painting, I have to say.
No.
Was
oil
he
painting.
Stan, a kind of Gollum-like creature.
No.
And, but it's just a great record. And but this is a good game. Dave, going back
It
and
is
rediscovering.
having a date
the
night
old-
with your records. This is what I recommend. Everybody should do this sometime over the next week and just pick something at random and be honest with yourself. If you put it on and it's not making it, just take it off and put another one on, because you will eventually find one that sparks something that hasn't been sparked in ages, like I found with Robert Plant's Band of Joy. And let us know what they are, via the usual links. And there'll be links in the show notes accompanying this video. What else we got? More anniversaries. It was the Beatles doing Our World, was it?
Oh,
this
yeah,
week?
it was. Yes, it was 1967.
I'm talking to the Beatles. Sorry. I just seen this. Let me interrupt you. That Ringo has just a BBC Hot News item. Ringo Starr at the age of 80 is still causing, news alerts on the BBC website that he's dropped the lawsuit against a manufacturer of sex toys called Ring O, because he was saying that they were kind of dragging his reputation through the mud, and he's obviously decided. My learned friends must have told him that the game's not worth the candle. Yes, absolutely.
You're drawing attention to the fact that you're making yourself look ludicrous.
But it's the idea that it's still a lead item on the BBC Newsnight all these years later. Anyway, carry on.
It's just the 25th, which I always thought a really significant event, and I'd forgotten it was just after the 6-day war.
The Arab-Israeli 6-day war.
Yeah, and
I was staying with my grandparents. My parents were away. I remember it. You could see it. Anyway, carry on.
And the various.
I remember the girl I was going out with. Mark,
oh right, okay.
That week, I remember.
That week. Oh, I like that. The girl I was going out with that week.
That week. Hold on a second. Mark. I can remember the girl I was going out with that week in the summer of 1967. Let's all, just for a moment, be quiet and just let me think about
it. It's the Likely Lads again with Deidre Birchwood, isn't it? Deidre Birchwood, the imaginary girlfriend.
Oh no, this one was not. She was not
imaginary.
Not imaginary at all.
Right. And you're back. You're back in the Zoom.
Sorry, can I just tell you about? It's just.
That's so funny.
Major events of June 1967. The Arab-Israeli 6-day war. The Beatles doing, Our World. Nothing's going to change our world on satellite. And me staying with my grandparents and walking to this girl's house across the fields. How Thomas Hardy is that, Mark?
That is.
Across the fields.
That's so romantic.
It was a couple of miles across the fields. But,
no, you wouldn't have bothered. You would have just you would have talked to each other on a WhatsApp.
You decided not to bother.
Decided not to bother. I'll stay in, actually.
Listen, I look back on it with big fondness. Anyway, carry on.
That's fantastic. No, well, this is this is a bit of a step down, really, after that romantic memory. But no, it was just after the 6 Day War, wasn't it? And the Eastern Bloc countries pulled out, which I'd forgotten about. They pulled out in protest of the Western nations' response to the 6 Day War. So a lot of the other countries who were going to take part in the broadcast refused to do it.
So it wasn't one world after all.
It wasn't one world. How very modern that is. Times have changed. I know. I know. But all sorts of people were on it. I was trying to find some YouTube of them. I couldn't find it. Maria Callas was on it, representing her country. Picasso was on it.
But the only thing anybody was interested in was the Beatles.
Yeah, completely.
We're miming to, All You Need Is Love. That's what they were doing.
And also the fact that they recorded that. They finished recording on the 19th, I think. It was broadcast. The event was the 25th. So the idea that right up till just a few days beforehand, they hadn't actually finished the song. The idea they had the confidence to think, it'll be fine.
And it was. It was.
This is a junction in the word podcast. It separates that bit from this next bit.
I'm just going to say this. There is no greater aphrodisiac in the world than people working closely together under pressure for long hours. Okay? That's all I'm going to say on the Matt Hancock business. For those who might find it...
Which is the boss-secretary equation, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't think it's quite as simple as that, but, many years ago, thousands of years ago, when I was young and attractive, and I used to be in plays, never a play went by without people falling into each other's arms in the cast during rehearsal. They just did it because they were spending so much time together under pressure. That's nothing compared to government and, a pandemic and so forth. So for those like Alex who may find it strange that Matt Hancock appears to have trouble peeling women off him, that could possibly be the explanation.
We're recording this at the very moment this news has just broken.
Just broken.
So fresh to all of us. We're just looking at the pictures of Hancock in a passionate clinch with the girl in question. It's sensational.
The headline possibilities for this. I can't believe it's gone so far and nobody's yet used Hancock's half hour. Mark, you were checking. Is it Deidre Birchwood or Deirdre
Birchwood? No, okay. Deirdre Birchwood. She was we never see her, I don't think. They talk about her fondly. I think at one point, I've got
to explain what it is, first of all. The Likely Lads of blessed memory, they used to talk about a girl that they'd been to school with that they both snogged early on. And her name was, Mark,
Deidre
Birchwood. And so I always used to think, that's the most brilliant name because it sounds like everyone's first girlfriend. And so I've done this at dinner parties, played the Deidre Birchwood game. Okay. Tell us the name of it applies to men and women either. It's names you can't make up.
Exactly. Completely plausible.
First girl that I ever got involved in a clinch with during a game of Postman's Knock at the age of about 14 was Jane Spurrier. I defy you to make up a name like Jane Spurrier. It can't be done. Who was yours?
Jane, if you're listening.
I'm very much so. I'm sure she got better things to do. Mark, who was yours?
Mine was, well, you're absolutely, this proves the theory. Penny Cotter.
There you go, Penny Cotter.
Penny Cotter, what a lovely name.
Here we go. Alex, the Deidre Birchwood game. Who was the first girl?
Right,
go on.
Technically, my first girlfriend was when I was 8, and it was Nicola Ives, and we held hands.
That's not bad.
Okay,
and kissed each other, and it was lovely.
What about an open mouth kiss? Come on.
That was Amy Collins. Amy Collins after the first term school disco in year 7. Mrs. Green caught us.
Hey.
She's still recovering now.
Very good.
Were there any repercussions? Was the punishment? No.
No punishment, no, just a stern look. And Alex, gold! Put her down.
Started off in
Very
it.
good. Very good. I suppose Postman Knock had long gone away by the time you got there, Alex. We used to have to find our thrills wherever we could.
We used to play spin the bottle.
Oh, well, there. Oh, it's very
Oh,
similar.
that's the same sort of thing,
It's
really.
very similar. Very similar. Only after they played spin in the bottle, they had full sexual intercourse.
Yeah. We had a kind of embarrassed peck on the cheek.
Oh, no, it was a bit more torrid than that in Yorkshire, Mark. We wouldn't have settled for that. It was, that was Hampshire, peck in the cheek. It was a lot more serious than that in Yorkshire.
Handshake.
It's a long game. It was like,
Really good.
Have you read any good books recently? No. Hampshire wasn't that innocent, but I can still remember the summer that the Hot Pants arrived. Oh my lord!
71.
71. What? 1971.
71 is the year of the Hot Pant.
Yeah.
71 is the year of Jane Fonda in Clute, which was popularised the Hot Pant, and it's a combination of the Hot Pant with the maxi coat.
Yes,
It was the long coat, the long kind of Julie Christie in Doc Zhivago coat, and then the incredibly abbreviated.
I think it might have been the year there was a picture of Linda Ronstadt wearing this particular fashion accessory, from which I've never recovered.
No.
Oh my lord!
Well, that's what's known as the Daisy Dukes, isn't it, nowadays? As in Daisy Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard. Who was the glamour in the Dukes of Hazzard, who always wore those kind of cut off Linda Ronstadt shorts. You're talking about Linda Ronstadt on the cover of, I think the album's called Hand Sewn Homegrown, where she's sitting. She's sitting. Where is she sitting, Mark? Where is she sitting?
Is it in a barn?
No, it's more agricultural than that. She's sitting in a pigsty, I think.
It's a pigsty. It's a pigsty. I wasn't far off. She's on a farm, isn't she? That's right.
On an actual farm with actual pigs.
Yes.
No wonder.
God.
No wonder.
There's a great picture of her with Mick Jagger. She's backstage somewhere, and Mick Jagger's just looking at her, and she's got the hot pants on, and Mick Jagger has just absolutely just gone to pieces. And understandably, he's only human.
Absolutely. So, questions from the massive. Of which we've had a number. And Jack wants to know, has the super deluxe box set jumped the shark with the mega expensive All Things Must Pass and its ludicrous garden gnomes? Do you know about this, Mark?
I do, and I don't think it has. I don't agree with this idea that these things can jump the shark. The whole point about a box set is that if people are prepared to pay the money, let them pay the money. What's wrong with it? You're not exploiting anybody. Just saying, if you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. It is, Dave, $998.98. And you get I'm looking at a little thing here. So you get a toy box size wooden crate that includes the album and dozens of demos and outtakes, a pile of vinyl CDs, books, and miniature facsimiles of the garden gnomes.
I was saying
depicted on the cover, which I think is fantastic. I love that. I love it. Why not? Why can't? Who wouldn't want little miniature garden gnomes?
So have you put your order in for your own?
I'm not going the full $998. No, but I think it has every right to be there and to be on the market. And good for them.
Okay,
brilliant.
Simon Benson says, noting the Joe Meek blue plaque, which is presumably in Holloway Road, is it? So that's where Joe Meek used to live, breathe, and have his being. Who in the musical firmament, is it firmament? It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It is long overdue, this recognition. So if you could place one rock blue plaque, what would it be?
Olympic Studios in Barnes, around the corner from here, ought to have one. But you mean for a person, for an individual?
Well, it could be either a person or an individual.
Olympic Studios deserves one. It really
does.
does.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so much happened there.
What about you, Alex? Go on.
I would have it done for Lee Movers.
Oh, the Lars?
Yeah, I would.
What, on his house?
Yeah, and the house he probably still lives in now, because I think he lives quite a sort of humble lifestyle on a 40,000 million quid he's made of it as you go. Yeah, he's a kind of forgotten genius. I think I genuinely think that genius is applicable to Lee Movers, and he's only made one record, and it was really good. So he's technically never made a bad record.
Lot to be said for that.
So
Nick
he
Drake
only
did
made
the
one
same
record
thing.
and has pretty much retired on the proceeds. He has. Then.
Yeah, pretty much. The Lars only made one album. He hated it, and he decided never to make a record again. He's been dining out on There She Goes for nearly 40 years now. Fair play to him. But
Good for him.
He's brilliant, and I think he inspired an awful lot of people, and I think that's merit enough.
Can I tell you where I think they should put blue plaques? They should put one on either side of the street. This is something we were talking about this morning. Should have a blue plaque at 52 to 55 Carnaby Street, where the Smash Hits office was.
Yeah, there is one.
Well, there's a
You know,
Don Arden.
it's about Don Arden and the Small Faces.
And then you should have a blue plaque right across the road
At
where
the
the
NME.
NME office was.
Yeah.
Because you could, loads of people worked there one way or another,
Yeah.
and spent incredible formative years there. That's what I would do. That's my suggestion.
Smash It's brilliant idea.
So, Billy Edwards, I suppose this is addressed to me. Second best year for music, ? He asked. I don't really say 1971 is the best year for music. I say it's the annus mirabilis of the rock album. And I think 1965 was the annus mirabilis of the 7-inch 45. So that's my answer to that. 1971, 1965.
66 a good year, surely. Pet Sounds, Revolver, Small Faces, Mamas and Papas,
Can I
Jack Orion by Bertie Yates, Tim Buckley, first Hendrix single, 8 Miles High. I mean, we could go around in circles, couldn't we?
Can I throw 2001 into the ring? Can I do
Go
that?
on, you
go on.
can. Go on.
2001 had The Strokes, Is This It? It had the first Gorillaz album. It had Discovery by Daft Punk. It had Jay-Z's The Blueprint. It had Jay-Z and Jay-Z.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z was his English.
That's kind of thing I would
That's
say.
so English.
Jay-Z's The Blueprint. And Weezer's The Green album. I had System of a Down's Toxicity. There was an awful lot of stuff happening in an awful lot of different kind of musical places.
Okay.
And,
That's good. That's very plausible.
Good. It's also the year that the iPod appeared, isn't it? For the first time. It's very, very, which was quite significant.
Majorly significant.
And
Was there a question about film soundtracks or TV soundtracks? Paul Connell? Was that?
come on. I haven't got it in front of me. Go on.
It's really good. He said there was the best use of pop and rock music in film and TV. He said, I'd go for the Kinks Living on a Thin Line in the Sopranos episode. That's a good question, isn't it? I'm trying to remember some of those. And I think there's one really unfashionable one, which is in High Fidelity, where the film really takes off when the Jack Black character tears Barry's cassette out of the machine, throws it at him and sticks on Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? And the whole film just lifts. And there's a lovely long shot of, I think it's Ray Liotta in Goodfellas, going to the Copacabana Club. Very sinister. And he's going to meet, I think, Joe Pesci and Robert.
But they're going through the kitchen.
And they go through the kitchen. And there's a really long shot, about three minutes. It's the crystals, and then he kissed me. That's fantastic.
Was that the crystals in that?
I think
bit?
so.
Okay. Woodface says, why are people so fascinated by unreleased music or different takes? It always disappoints. It does. You're completely right.
It does, but that's not. But you're not going to just replace the version you have on your in your iTunes with whatever they've given you, because it's never as good. It's just, you're only going to hear it once, aren't you? It's just looking at a sketch. It's like when you see X-rays, what was under the picture, or the famous painting by Van Gogh or whatever. I don't think that. I think he's thinking that, that people would want to play this more than once. They wouldn't.
No, sure. So that's your questions answered. Thank you very much. With our usual excellent service. Alex, what's this with the Foo Fighters?
Well, they've recoagulated themselves into a disco group called the DGs.
Right.
And they've recorded an album called, wait for it, Hail Satin.
Oh, God.
It contains various BG covers, Dave Grohl singing in a falsetto, and it's got the greatest press shot of all time of them all having walked off a private flight wearing linen shirts, aviator shades, little
I've seen that.
champlers in their hands. It's wonderful.
Little disco shoes. It's so well observed. It's shirts slashed to the waist.
Every little detail
medallions.
is in there. It's absolutely wonderful, and it's being released on Record Store Day. So it's clearly.
I love that group.
But
They ought to call it the Great Satin. It's,
it's also just so interesting that the Bee Gees, which were a laughing stock at one point, now kind of revered.
Oh,
And quite a few people, Phil Collins, ABBA. I'm trying to think of other examples.
Well,
Yeah.
Noel Gallagher's latest record is that the cover of Noel Gallagher's latest record is another open homage, shall we say, to a Bee Gees record, and he's been talking about them an awful lot recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a huge fan.
which Bee Gees record is it a homage to?
I can't remember which one it is. I'll have to have a look.
Okay, great. I'll have to look that up. So you were talking about Record Store Day. The other thing that's happening on Record Store Day, which is, if anything, bigger,
It is.
is Word in Your Park, which is on the 17th of July, which is a Saturday. It's a Saturday afternoon, starts at 2:00 in Holland Park, in a very lovely custom-designed covered auditorium. Weatherproof and also COVID safe. So it's been redesigned to ensure social distancing. And we're delighted to say that on that day, we'll be joined by... So
What a lineup. It's a great lineup.
just
Gary
quite
Crowley.
shy retiring, will we ever winkle anything out of them people, as Gary Crowley, Leslie Ann Jones, Barney Hoskins, Danny, will he ever say a word, Baker, and now we're thrilled that we can add Mark Lewison, world's greatest Beatles expert. So
That is a
come on.
lineup, isn't it?
If you haven't, tickets are going fast. So, if you haven't already got yours, get them soon. How should people do that, Alex?
We'll post a link in the show notes. Also, you can go to wielondon.com, and there is a handy ticket widget on the front page of the website.
And if you haven't signed up to be a Patreon, why the hell not?
This podcast was brought to you by The Word.